Hi everybody, this is Rebecca over 60. I want to welcome you to my channel if you haven't been here before, and if you're coming back again, I am so excited that you're back. Anyway, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you like this video, click the notification bell and do all that stuff. So this video is a follow-up video on another video I did where I was talking about how I had a sensitive stomach and I was trying to figure out why. So what I did was I took this Ultimate Health sensitivity test. What it is it's a DNA test. What you have to do is just send in a few strands of your hair and then they test the DNA and they can tell what types of foods or some non-foods also that you may be sensitive to. I sent it in. I would say that it took about 2 weeks because first they had to receive it and then they let me know that they received it, which I thought was really great. And then they sent me an email with a PDF that told me foods that they thought I might be sensitive to. One thing that I didn't mention in the first video is that it doesn't matter if you dye your hair, which of course I do right now, otherwise it would be completely gray, but it doesn't matter if you've done that, it can still tell. And it was really, really interesting because I really found that I didn't have a lot of sensitivity to foods, but there were a few that I was slightly sensitive to. So there's different zones that you have to be aware of. There's like the red zone is obviously the foods that you have a pretty harsh sensitivity to. Then there's the orange zone, which means that you're moderately sensitive. And then the blue zone is foods that you could just go ahead and eat and not worry about. I was sort of surprised, I guess. Well, I wasn't really surprised, but a lot of my sensitivity came to wheat, but it was really in the orange zone, so it wasn't severe. So it doesn't mean I can never have a sandwich again or never have some pasta again, but just realize that if I do have it, I'm probably going to get kind of bloated and a little gassy, and then it can get embarrassing sometimes, which I'm trying to avoid like the plague. Looking at it, I can eat barley. That's in the blue zone. That's fine. Most of the breads that are wheat-based are really in the orange zone. There were a couple that came up red, and that was rye bread, which I was really surprised because I don't often have rye bread, but if I go to a deli, I definitely want to have a sandwich on rye bread. So I guess I'm just going to have to adjust that. So it was just rye or bread rye. Those are the only two that came out in the red zone. The rest were orange. I was good with gluten-free foods except for buckwheat, which is kind of surprising. And then almost everything else like cheese, drinks, fruits, dairy, those were all in the blue zone. There were a couple of other things that came up red for me that I was sort of surprised. One in herbs and spices, it came up red with Chinese horseradish. Like, I don't know how often I've ever had that. I have no idea. I guess I'll have to be careful if I'm in a Chinese restaurant. I also got strawberries, which is kind of a bummer because I do like strawberries, but all the other fruits were fine. And oregano. I was really surprised about that because I grow oregano in my garden and I really love to put it into things that I make. So I guess I'm going to have to go easy on that. That doesn't really mean I have to just avoid it completely, but I guess it does give me a little bit of a problem. Oh, pine nuts too. So I'm going to have to adjust my pesto and make it with, I guess, pistachio, which is really good, by the way. So I'm going to have to do that. It goes to seafood. Okay, I'm slightly sensitive to calamari and John Dory. I guess that's a type of a fish. And oysters, they're all in the orange zone, but I did get a red for mussels. And then it goes into non-food sensitivities. Those have to do with a lot of things like flowering plants, insects, different organic compounds. Most of them I'm pretty good with. I did get something for oak tree, and we have this gigantic oak tree in our front yard, so I'm like, oh, okay. It was in the orange zone, so it wasn't terrible. Some of these plants, I have no idea what they are. False acacia, I don't know that I would be able to even know what that is, but plane tree that was red. I don't know. Anyway, it goes into metal toxicity too. It was mostly okay in all of those. There's some of them like cobalt or rubidium. I have no idea where I would ever come in contact with that, but those were also in orange. But it's really interesting to find all this out. It goes into your vitamin analysis, which I really loved. So it turns out that all of my vitamins are in the regular range. I'm really good with vitamins, which means I don't need supplements. And I'm one of those people that doesn't like taking supplements to begin with. So I avoid those. And it just shows that I'm getting my vitamins from food and other reasons, like say vitamin D comes from the sun, just from going for walks and things like that. But I'm good with vitamins, which is really nice to hear. And then it goes into minerals. I was good with minerals also. Didn't have to worry about those, except for one called genistein, and that got a red, and I have no idea what that is. So I guess I'm not going to really worry about that either. So then it goes into your gut health. That's really important because if you have a sensitive stomach, that means that something's going on in your gut and you just need to heal it. So it talks about certain probiotic strains that I need to add to my diet. And of course, I can do that either with a probiotic supplement, or I actually prefer to do it with food. So it might mean I need to eat more sauerkraut or kefir or tempeh or miso, any of those things that contain probiotics naturally. Even pickles, a lot of the time, will contain probiotics. There were like 4 strains. I will not attempt to pronounce them because they're too hard. But I thought that was really interesting. I mean, I think it's a really good thing to know the things that you're lacking so that you can make adjustments in your diet. And so that's important. Oh, it also goes into additives too, like food additives. I try to stay away from any type of processed food, so I'm really not too worried about that. But it does come up with the additives, and it comes up with these codes. There's a place where you can click on the codes to find out exactly what those additives are, and a lot of them are just really scientific sounding words. But I would say avoid processed food, avoid things that have preservatives and all of those food dyes, which I do. I really try to eat real food all the time. So I'm not worried about the additive part either. I just think it's a really helpful test. I can't really say how accurate it is. I mean, you might take it to a doctor and they'll say, I don't know. But I think that for me, I've been trying to figure out all these things all along. And it was really hard for me to hone it down to what exactly was causing me to get gassy. And so now, for the last week or so, I haven't been eating any bread or pasta, and I feel pretty good. So I'm thinking, okay, that's it. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too was I had a colonoscopy this week, which was not fun. It's never fun. But it turned out that everything was good. I just have some internal hemorrhoids, which, those things happen, and very mild diverticulosis, which is pretty common in older people, but nothing to worry about at this point. So those really weren't causing problems other than occasionally I'll find a little bit of blood, when I go to the bathroom, which was why I wanted to get the colonoscopy. But my doctor said, don't worry about it. Come back in 10 years. And by then I'll be 80, and I doubt that they even do those on 80-year-olds. So maybe this is the last colonoscopy I ever have to have. I'm so excited. So anyway, just wanted to give you a heads up on my results, and hope you try it yourself if you want to. I'm going to leave the links in the description below. And again, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. And I'm so glad to have you here on my channel. Click the thumbs up also. It helps my channel to grow, and I need all the help I can get. So anyway, till next time, let's see what happens.